Good evening, folks, on this Sunday evening, March the 16th, 2008. This is Aaron DeBruin, Vinyl Freak 89, here from Eastern U.S. Weather, to talk with you folks over what's going to go on over the next week or week and a half or so. Now, I know many of you have seen the potential for a blizzard on March the 25th or 26th, and I'm going to sort of squash a couple of ideas as to why people think that that is going to be a potential event. Going to look at different possibilities. There are some things that are going for it, there are some things that are going to go against it. We're going to just go ahead and break down and analyze the entire situation. So let's first off go ahead and take a look at the current situation. You can see that we have our system in here cut off in the southwest that is going to give a big rainstorm to the east coast and quite a bit of severe weather in the southeast and south central United States. Got our clipper or storm system actually turned into a bit more of a clipper moving off the coast now. Now this is going to go in, this is going to become the setup for a big low in southeast Canada, which is going to pave way for the next system to dive in. So again, let's take a look at the current surface map. We can see high pressure dominating across much of the eastern U.S. Now that is something that I do want to keep in mind. Here in central Maryland, we are under high pressure. This is a typical scenario that you'd see in either February or January, and yet our high temperatures today reached 47 degrees. So having a surface high pressure in place does not necessarily mean temperatures cold enough to support snowfall. We need at this time of year a very strong dynamical system to be able to pull cold air from the upper atmosphere down to the surface and to support a good snowfall. 850 temperatures are well below 0 degrees in this area, but surface temperatures are not. And hence you can see the surface freezing line goes way up, even up through central Maine, and therefore is not conducive to snow anywhere south of that line. So that's something I want you folks to keep in mind when we go ahead and analyze this upcoming situation. Here's the big low that moved off the coast, and many people thought could have been a big storm for New York City, and it's, as we can see, it moved harmlessly off the coast. Here comes our next storm developing, and which is going to take a track like this up through the lakes, and so that's what we're going to be dealing with in a few days. Moving on to 72 hours, we can see that our big low in the southwest tracked something like this, and now it's lifting up through the lakes as we have a strong ridge along the east coast and an east-based negative NAO. You can see that the block is sitting back here, but it is eastern-based and gives room for systems to go up to the west. Notice the displaced 50-50 low sitting in here from our current system rather than up here in the classic position where we'd expect it. Now, what this system is going to do in here is it's going to become an eastern Canada, possibly a 50-50 low, and pave the way for our current setup. Hold on a sec. Sorry about that, folks. A couple of graphics you saw. So again, here comes the system again. People were possibly thinking that this system was going to dive in around on the backside and possibly cause a storm to go up the east coast. That's not going to happen. Um, so that's the situation that's coming up for this Wednesday. Again, taking a look at the surface map, you can see severe weather focused down in here, and maybe a little bit of winter weather on the backside of it. But generally, a rainstorm can see temperatures 60 plus in this area, 50 plus up here. So, 50 even reaches close to New York City. So definitely a big rainstorm for many and severe weather in the southeast. Now the evolution of this by 144 hours is pretty critical to our next system. Here comes a clipper diving down that may bring some snow to the middle and northern mid-Atlantic when we get on to next Sunday or Monday, but it's going to pave the way for our bigger storm. Notice what's happening. Here we still see the east-based negative NAO, but instead of having high pressure here through eastern Canada, we instead see a strong low pressure system in this area in the upper levels of the atmosphere, and what's paving the way that looks to want to be a 50-50 low. What happens is a piece of this splits and a piece of it goes out front and rotates up, and so what happens is this block is forced to the east, piece builds back in over the top, and you sort of get a situation with blocking stuck in between with two lows on either side of the system, one in here and one back here. That's what we need to resolve, is exactly where that blocking is going to occur, because that's what's going to determine the track of the 50-50 low and the eventual system. This system is not the typical scenario where you'd see with a system that dives in like this and heads up the coast. That's the following of the Southern Branch Energy. However, instead, this one comes in over the top in the Pacific Jet, dives down. You can see piece of Southern Branch Energy coming along, but it is not the dominant piece, so this would be a Miller B type system. Then we see the GFS indicates that the system comes into here and then basically shoots east before going out. The European at 12Z indicates a very different solution, which we will also take a look at. Both have nearly the same effect along the coast. Taking a look at 144 hours at the GFS, you can see this clipper does pretty well. These are surface temperatures, and yes, they are below freezing near Washington, D.C., with about close to quarter of an inch of liquid in here, so could be a decent snowstorm with, or a snow situation with maybe 1 to maybe 4 inches across the entire area. Definitely something we need to keep a look out on. It's still 144 hours away, but here we can see the next system getting ready to build in the Gulf of Mexico and create problems along the entire east coast. So now let's take a look at what the 18Z GFS does for that system, and you can see it basically took it in here and bombs the thing out along the east coast with a strong cut-off low pressure system and an associated storm along the east coast. Now when you see this next map, you're going to probably think that it looks pretty nice, but there are some problems with it, and we're going to highlight them here. First, notice how we see the blocking over the top and how we saw the two lows split. Here's our 50-50, and here's the second low that went back. Notice that all the blocking, the main block, is way here east. And so this is the end of the negative NAO pattern. Now, that's one key thing that may be going for this storm. Generally, pattern change events have historically been significantly good. However, with this system with the splitting occurring like this with the two lows, having a block in between and having it to set up in the exact right position is not always a favorable situation. We need it to set up right in the area I boxed in. If it doesn't set up there, this will not be a big storm for the East Coast. Also notice that we have a little bit of a kicker coming behind and a stronger system coming into the southwest. This will definitely be a lakes cutter sitting back here, as we are seeing the pattern change to a positive NAO type system pattern. Again, we need to watch carefully. The European is a different solution with this piece of energy in here, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at that in a sec, but definitely something we need to keep our eye on in subsequent GFS runs to see if it continues to show the same solution. Notice the southeast ridge being well suppressed off the coast, and therefore that's why we have this system coming east. The eventual placement of this feature sitting here in Canada and the way it splits is very key as to how much this system can stay suppressed and not end up coming northwest to give the interior sections a big snowstorm. I don't see this one as being a Midwest special, but anywhere from this area in here is among the possible tracks of this low pressure system, that being the mid-range and here being the eastern outlier. Therefore, I can see potential areas of snowfall, of maximum snowfall, being anywhere at this early stage from this being our western edge in here and across, and this being our eastern edge in here. So again, these are the possibilities for this system. We do have to watch it very carefully over the next couple of days and see what happens over the next week. Moving on, we can see take a look at the surface map for the GFS, valid at the same time, the 192 hour, and you can see here's our strong low pressure system going up along the coast, and here we can see a heavy snowfall occurring throughout the entire I-95 corridor. Weak high pressure, but again, that's not necessarily something that's too much of an issue with this system. Because again, you need to have strong dynamics in the upper levels to be able to bring a heavy snowfall into the region. So let's take a look at now what the 12Z Euro is showing as opposed to the GFS. First off, looking at 72 hours, you can see here's our first feature in here with the associated cold front.